into the latest edition of ESPN FC Live. It's just myself, Kay Murray, and Janusz Michallik today, which is great because we've actually got loads to talk about. Janusz, we're going to look back on that Champions League draw. We want to talk about Endrick, who's already been to meet his new Real Madrid teammates, and of course, PL Express as always. But let's start with the Champions League draw and your overall thoughts, because some were saying they feel as though it was a little bit underwhelming, but are they missing some key matchups here and some more interesting pointers?
Yeah, pretty straightforward, isn't it? I think if you look at it, the favorites, I suppose, avoided big matches. Where I guess we're looking at Inter Atletico because Inter finished second. That's one thing that I think everybody was worried. So maybe that's the toughest matchup when you look at everything else. For the most part, really, I know that Napoli against Barcelona sounds great on paper. It may very well be, but obviously this is not the Napoli from last season when they won the Scudetto in an incredible fashion. That can change. Let's not forget that the teams that were picked out of the baskets here, or the pots, if you will, are not going to be the same teams when we resume this competition in February. Form, obviously, injuries, suspensions, and the transfer window can very much change things. But for the most part, I can understand why it's underwhelming, because I don't know if there's going to be many surprises. Maybe one at most.
All right, so we're going to go through them one by one. Obviously, as you said, things can change before then. But when we're just looking at them now, we want to ask you who you think is going to go through on each one and a quick why. So Porto against Arsenal.
Porto against Arsenal. Arsenal, you know that I always, for the most part, like teams that have the second leg at home. I think it is important, always in the back of your mind, that you can make up the difference should you need it, and if you get a good result away, even more so as well. So Porto notoriously comes out and then doesn't really do anything. A little bit better this season than the season before, I suppose. But Arsenal, for me, are overwhelming favorites. They'll get through. Napoli against Barcelona. Pick your poison. Neither team is doing very, very well, but I think that Barcelona obviously has way more talent, I suppose. Osimhen is back. I think he's a great player. Let's hope he's going to be there. I think he's going to be there. But anyway, Barcelona is going to be too much. PSG against Real Sociedad.
You think this version of Barcelona is going to be too much for Napoli?
Yeah, any version of Barcelona, K, is going to be too much for Napoli.
We've seen that Napoli can actually give teams a go as well. We've seen price teams, and honestly, this Barcelona side right now are not that convincing, are they?
They are not. As I've said, we have 2 months. Things will change. I think some of the injuries are going to solidify. I think players are going to get back. I don't expect Barcelona to change much in the transfer window because we know they don't have money. Osimhen is a little bit better. Kvaratskhelia is still not the same player. So look, I think that there's going to be tight. It's going to be interesting, perhaps, in both legs because both teams like to play. But again, this is a different Napoli. Just the fact that Spalletti's in there, watching Napoli in Serie A right now, this is not the same team. It struggled much. I'll wait and see because Osimhen's been missing and already showing class coming back. We saw that, I think it was the last game, wasn't it, Udinese?
Yeah. Sheet for that game.
So obviously, I mean, he's quality, but I think Barcelona, when you look at them, they have been so underwhelming with so much talent still on that team. I truly believe in that, and I think they'll take care of business there.
All right, so let's continue to go through it. PSG against Real Sociedad. Interesting from our Jules Laurent, who's obviously a big PSG fan. He feels of all the Spanish teams, this was the worst one that PSG could get because of the way they play. They've obviously got the press. They play very intense style of football. And he fears for his PSG side. Do you?
A little bit. Yeah, the worst one they had in the group stage was Inter. So they knew they weren't going to get them back here. You hope, because, Real Sociedad will have the ball. They can hurt you, obviously. I think even against a team like PSG. So this one is tight. That's where my surprise may or may not come in. We'll see. But I can see that because I still think that Luis Enrique is building that side. Of course, we know the quality of, Kylian Mbappe, Kolo Muani. So there, Zaire Emery, just so many good players there. But I fear it's not a team just yet. And the one thing that we can and have to say about Real Sociedad, that they fear no one. And surely they are a big team, right? They understand each other. They know how to play. They enjoy playing together, and they have the capability of taking the ball away from you. So even against a massive team like PSG, having the second leg at home, PSG better get the result at home. When I say comfortable, at least 2-0. Otherwise, I think they're going to be in trouble.
So if you had to say it now, though, just PSG or La Real, who would you say?
I'm going to go with a surprise here. I'm going to go with Real Sociedad.
Now, Inter against Atleti is the one that stands out because obviously Inter are last year's beaten finalists. They won the competition in 2010. We've seen Atleti go to the final themselves in 2014 and 2016. This is very interesting. No doubt will divide opinion among football fans on who's going to go through. Who have you got?
I have Inter. It's last year they were good for me. This year, I think they may have a chance to get to the final again. This is the one where obviously second leg is away, but Inter won't care. They play the same home or away. They know how to suffer if they need me. They're very well balanced team, top of Serie A. Atleti's not doing well. And look, these are two teams that are associated with defensive football. But look at this. They have arguably 4 of the best strikers in Europe. When I say best, I mean really in form. Morata, 13 goals. Griezmann, 14. Absolutely outstanding. But then you have Lautaro Martinez with 17. And even Marcus Thuram, who came in, has got 7. Only 1 in Champions League. But I think he's deputizing. I don't even want to say deputizing. He's doing well in the absence of this one striker that went to Roma. What was his name? Romelu Lukaku. He's the king of Europa League, though. Look, I'm with Inter. Deep, quality. A team that's made for tournaments, 2-legged affairs like this. I think they'll negotiate their way through.
Yeah, I can't wait for that one. PSV against Dortmund is another one where this really could go either way, as we've case at most of this stage, because it's really hard to know what you're going to get from Dortmund this season. This is the one area where they've been really strong. Obviously, they topped their group in the Champions League, but they've not been doing what they should in the Bundesliga this season. So who are you going for?
Coin flip here, isn't it? Part of me being on this side, number of U.S. men's national team players, led, of course, Ernie Stewart in the front office. So part of me wants them to go. There is a player on Dortmund, Gio Reyna as well. Look, I mean, they're good in the Champions League. Even if they're not good in the league over the years, they have that experience. They have a couple massive players in terms of experience, Zula or Hummels, just to name that, Marco Reus. I think because in a way, I mean, the Bundesliga has slipped away from them. This is going to be a priority for them. And again, I think it's a coin flip, but Dortmund will find a way past PSV. But this is going to be a very tight one. And this could go the other way.
No, it's not last season's Lazio, that's for sure. They're up against Bayern Munich. Is it as straightforward as Bayern Munich marching on?
I just don't have any arguments for Lazio. We just saw what Inter did there, and almost way too easy. And so Maurizio Sarri, who knows if he's still going to be in charge when it comes to that. Thomas Tuchel, not exactly all that comfortable as well, but Bayern are Bayern, and they will find a way, and I don't see any problems there.
Copenhagen against Manchester City and Leipzig against Real Madrid. Now, I'm just going to ask you those two together because I want to know if you do see City and Real Madrid going through.
Yes, and I don't even know how many arguments I have to give for City. Copenhagen is a Cinderella story, Kay, and I love them. And certainly at home with this wonderful crowd that they have, they could cause a surprise, but the defending champions will prevail.
So because I've put them together because obviously they are the defending champions. Real Madrid are the record champions in the Champions League. Who have you got going further this season?
Oh, those two have to meet like they normally do. I've mentioned Inter, but look what Real are doing without some key players. They've lost David Alaba. But who's going to go further? Do you have to? I mean, it's too early. I want to see Real Madrid players coming back. I mean, look, Real Madrid are always for real in this competition. And I just see something that I still think a lot of people are questioning what's happening at Real Madrid. And I think it's unbelievable. And part of that is maybe because this number 9, although
questioning how it's happening. how they're still continuing to have the success they are so far, or
that part is incredible because everybody's contributing in so many ways that I don't think anybody expected. It's easy to go to Jude Bellingham. Obviously, nobody thought that a player as young as that is going to come into this team and do what he does. I don't know if this is going to happen again. Although there's a player that we're going to talk about shortly who may change that because he's that talented. But Look at Rodrigo. Look what he's doing. I mean, there's still no Vinny Jr. That midfield, so many injuries, older, experienced players helping the younger ones like Camavinga, Tchouaméni. Of course, I'm talking about Luka Modric. I mean, Luka Modric's experience in that dressing room and maybe that one game or maybe that one substitution somewhere. And Toni Kroos, who's found himself playing more central, and he looks almost as if he's 22 years old because he was stuck on that left-hand side in the past. There's some issues because the injury to Alaba is significant, right? And they may have to do something in the transfer window there, I suppose, because without Militao, he's going to be back. But when and how, who knows? But I just think that Real Madrid you're going to have to go through it. So I think it's either Manchester City, Real Madrid final, or in the semifinal, Manchester City will have to deal with them. And at this stage, I'm not confident to say that Manchester City are going to do it. Last year, as you know, I was very confident that City were going to win it. I thought they were better than Real Madrid, which they showed the season before, or it was a couple seasons. Well, they lost in the extra time, 90-plus minute, where Real Madrid beaten them, even though Manchester City were better. So, look, if it's not Inter, it's going to be Manchester City against Real Madrid.
Oh, you know what? That's just made PL Express very interesting with your thoughts on Man City, but we'll wait. We'll wait for that because there's going to be some talk about the title race coming up. You did mention we were going to talk about a Real Madrid player. It is Endrick, who will be with Real Madrid in the summer once he's turned 18. They have to wait until then due to the rules and how they are. He's been doing well at the moment for Palmeiras, so just won the Brazilian Serie A, and he came to meet his new teammates at Valdebebas, Real Madrid's training ground. He went to the game Real Madrid against Villarreal. He met all of the guys in the dressing room. That's where it was. So let's talk about what he is actually going to bring. But before we do, because he has been in Europe, we had a chance to play. You have to answer with him, and here's how it went down.
Haaland o Mbappé?
Bueno, creo que yo prefiero Mbappé.
Ronaldo, o brasileiro, R9 ou CR7?
Pero Cristiano.
Neymar ou Ronaldinho?
Ney.
Cachorro ou gato?
Cachorro.
Figo ou Zidane?
Zidane.
EA FC, né, que era o FIFA, ou Fortnite?
Nossa, EA.
Gol ou assistência?
Gol.
Novas chuteiras ou um novo corte de cabelo?
Chuteiras.
Ser capaz de voar ou ficar invisível?
Voar.
Twitter ou Instagram?
Nenhum mais. Instagram.
Noite em casa ou noite fora de casa?
Noite em casa.
Chuveiro ou banheira?
Chuveiro.
Perder o seu telefone ou perder sua carteira?
Ah, carteira, pô. Hoje o mundo é digital, né?
That made me laugh, some of those. I feel as though he paused for a minute and thought, what's the right answer here, given that I'm going to Real Madrid right now? But it was good to see that he picked goals. Obviously, that's something that Real Madrid will be happy about, and we'll talk about what he's actually going to be bringing to this side. Is he going to be bringing something they've been missing for you, Janusz?
I don't know if something that's missing, but he's going to come in as a prodigy and he's going to leave as a Galactical. I mean, this is how much talent he's got. He's given Real Madrid so many options. Obviously, a center forward, but I mean that left foot obviously can play on the left hand side. You can invert him on both sides, and he's going to be great. And if you watched him play, even in just highlights, it goes to show what he's got. Just that this insatiable want to score goals. Mostly, but I just think incredible talent and the creativity, and at that age, he seems like almost like makes Jude Bellingham look small in a way. And of course, We'll see if he can lift, if he can deal with the pressure that comes with Real Madrid. Jude Bellingham has done that tremendously, but just listening to him, watching him play, just an incredible player. Those options, I mean, and when you talk about Real Madrid, there are already so many options. That's why this kind of pure number 9, Jude Bellingham is proving that it's nonsense, that they don't really need it. And I think when you get Endrick, he gives you that option that forget a true number 9. I mean, he is a 9, but maybe not the typical number 9 in terms of size and the ability in the air and all that, because he is a small player. But my goodness, I mean, he can play anywhere. And with injuries, like when you look at Vinny Jr., he can play there, he can play through the middle. That allows Jude Bellingham to drop a little bit. He can play as a second striker as well. So I think that versatility and just the pure talent. I mean, if that talent goes wrong, I mean, something's wrong with Real Madrid and their manager. It almost cannot go wrong in that environment. So it's going to be interesting to see, because we've seen big names and great players go to big clubs and maybe shy under pressure, but I just don't see it. This is a massive moment, and I really, as a fan, I can't wait to see him in that environment, because that crowd, I mean, come on, they're just going to absolutely adore him.
Yeah, and this day that Vinny and Rodrigo have had a big part in him coming, and they'll take on a big brotherly role to him too. But it's going to be interesting to see if it's Carlo Ancelotti managing him there, and if it's not there, he'll probably be managing him for Brazil anyway. So we'll see what happens in the summer in the managerial role at Real Madrid. But we're very much looking forward to seeing what Endrick can bring to the club, and we wish him well. Time for PL Express, and there's lots to talk about here. We've got to start with Manchester United's draw with Liverpool. Only one of our FC pundits predicted this. He didn't get the scoreline right, but he predicted it would be a draw. For many, Manchester United fans are feeling like this is a win. Should they be?
No, absolutely not. I mean, look, when you go by the book as a player, results are important, right? It doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter how, but I mean, this is still Manchester United, so I'm not going to take anything away from them. Liverpool had their chances, didn't. I mean, obviously we're dominating, but Manchester United did what many middle table teams do: come to Anfield and defend for their life. I expect a lot more. If this is going to be a catalyst for the things to come for Manchester United, then this is going to be, or is going to feel to me like a win. If it's not, then it's a shame, because Ten Hag's telling us there's process, there's progress. I don't care, how many players are suspended or injured. We have an example of everybody. Look at Newcastle, on their knees, basically playing with the same players, losing even more. And look at the way they play, with energy, with philosophy to win. And we've been told that this Manchester United and this manager is going to play in a certain way. So certainly that wasn't it, because they did absolutely nothing, with one exception, of course, where they could have won the game, where Højlund had that opportunity that was saved, because that was really a great opportunity. But look, I mean, it's about results, it's about points, and at where Manchester United have been, going to Anfield, where Liverpool, I think, it's been 35 games and they scored in every one of them. They have won every game at Anfield this season. So you have to say that Manchester United did accomplish something, right? But other than that, if you look at the mighty Manchester United and all the plans and all the talk about Ten Hag, his style of play, I mean, I wouldn't want to be a fan of Manchester United watching that.
Does this result change anything for them, though?
Well, as I said, it depends on what happens from now on. Is this going to be a catalyst where the players start believing? I don't know. Based on what I've seen this season and even this game, nothing's changed for me. I mean, this is still, this is a team like any other, as I've mentioned, middle, table team or even below would have normally done. Go to Anfield and try not to lose. And this to me, what it was, but it serves a purpose. So again, I want to make sure that people understand it. I get it, because a point is a big point at Anfield. We'll see what they do with it.
All right. I just want to mention something Jose Mourinho just had to say on John Obi Mikel's podcast. He said Manchester United still have players and staff that he worried about and warned about when he was there, and that they're still in place. And he obviously sees this as a big part of the problem. Do you take any weight with what Mourinho's had to say here, or do you feel it's still just a bit of a dig?
Well, it's probably both. I mean, look, I mean, I often don't agree with Jose Mourinho, but I respect him immensely. You know, I wouldn't want to be coached. Well, I'd want to win all the trophies that he's won, so that's why my respect comes in from that. But I think it was a little bit of a dig, but it's a knowledge from inside, because he's been right with everything he said so far. Since him, even a little bit before him, there hasn't been much success, and the players that have been there make a lot of money without any success for the most part. Obviously, last season the League Cup, you can't take that away from Ten Hag, because he came in and did what he promised then to do. He hasn't moved on just yet. And maybe the reason that we haven't seen the progress is that Ten Hag also knows what Jose Mourinho knew and he's talking about. And maybe he is in the process of changing that mentality and getting rid of some of the players that don't see Manchester United as this massive club. So I want to give Manchester United and Erik Ten Hag a little bit benefit of the doubt. And certainly I wouldn't dismiss what Jose Mourinho has said.
Before we move on to talk about the other team in Manchester, just a question in the comments about Manchester United saying, is Ten Hag the one to finally get it right, or is he going to be just another failure there?
Well, I don't know if he's going to be a failure, but I certainly expect Manchester United for the rest of the season to show progress. We haven't seen it. It's been one fire after another. We haven't seen the style that everybody's used to. Even Jaap Stam has mentioned that Ten Hag, this is not the way he plays, right? He's at a massive club that spent a lot of money. He's brought a lot of his players that he knew who are underperforming tremendously for him, right? And I expect Manchester United to, at the very least, finish in the top four. I mean, where's the progress? Last season was very good, and Manchester United shouldn't be at a place where they are. They shouldn't be playing against their arch rival the way they have been. So if Manchester United finish where they are, and we're going to see more games like we've seen the other day, then he would have failed.
Here's a little either or for you. We've also got, will he win the league with United or be sacked? That's my question.
Win the league when? Is there a timetable? I mean, we're not talking. Yeah, I'm asking honestly. Sure, we're not talking about this season, right? Or just in general. I mean, look, I don't have a crystal ball, but what I'm seeing right now are facts, and they're nowhere near that this season or even next season.
Okay, well, talking about winning the league, I want to talk about Manchester City because they've stumbled again. Before we get to the title race, what is the root of their issue right now?
You know, as Bernardo Silva said the other day, I mean, he admitted that they're tired. You know, I normally don't hear that from Manchester City. A small squad with some injuries. Everybody has to deal with that. We're talking, I think, 8 games without a clean sheet, which is a massive problem for them because at their best, we know that you couldn't breach them. I mean, they conceded less than 10 goals, right? Now, I don't know, it's 20 or something like that, right? They conceded late goals. And you know, this is a game against Crystal Palace where they were in total control. And by the end of the game, they were in total panic, which for me, that was the most unusual part. Not necessarily the goal, obviously, was scored in the 95th minute, but even before that, this was a Manchester City team that lost control completely. You could see Crystal Palace just kind of, you know, getting in behind, defensive problems, and individual defending very, very poor. Ruben Dias, again, we've talked about him. We know he's not at his best. Even Ake, the way he was beat to one of the goals, I mean, you've got to do better. You see him, and then you lose sight of a player 1 yard away from goal. That's unacceptable. A player like Mateta caused them all kinds of problems. So yes, defensively and just concentration, they got to snap into it. Now is the time, because lack of concentration has cost them in many games right now, right? I mean, dominating, as they've said, you know, they've dominated Spurs, they've dominated Liverpool, they've dominated Crystal Palace, and there's that lack of concentration. So I think if you're Manchester City fan, you're hoping, because I'm starting to think, are they going to come good, and when are they going to come good? This is the time, because there's no
season, right?
Well, see, the thing is that people will say that motivation, right?
Well,
I
I
don't
want to
know.
think about that because, yeah, it has to be one of the questions, Janusz. They won everything last year. Just naturally, you can say winning's contagious, but just naturally, when you know you have, do you still have the same drive? Does every single player still have the same drive to go and achieve that again?
Yeah, but I was thinking about that more as a player. I mean, you love winning it, right? No matter what. And I can understand the first half of the season, and they've done it in the past. But the margin for error is so small that that can just kickstart you. Because look, 5 points away now. Now they're going to miss a game or two, right? They're away. They're away to play Urawa today as we speak, pretty soon. And I think when they come back, they're going to look at the same situations last season, being 8-9 points away. But I think that motivates players because now that lack of concentration doesn't exist. Every game is a final; it's a must-win. So when you have players that now understand, without Pep Guardiola saying anything, hey, this is the business end of the season. Every game is a final right now. I think players like that, players in Manchester City, will thrive on that. So this is going to be what I think is going to kickstart their season. Isn't going to be enough? Again, I don't know. But I promise you that you're going to see Manchester City much better defensively, Manchester City that doesn't lose concentration in key moments, and Manchester City that puts away opponents when they dominate. But, there's always that little time where sometimes it's a little bit too late. I wonder, because this has been, right, the worst start under Pep Guardiola for Manchester City. You can only do that so often. But look, Haaland's going to be back. De Bruyne is back. You watch. It's going to change just because they have so much talent.
Okay, so don't tell me the big title race pointer just yet, because we've got a couple of more pointers to get to. Obviously, Man City, as you mentioned, are in Club World Cup action. With Villa right now, it was put to Stevie Nicol on the ESPN FC show whether or not they're in the mix when it comes to the title race, and he said he's not ready to put them there just yet. Do you agree with him or do you disagree with him?
Yeah, I'm not going to put him there. No, I mean, first of all, I mean, to me, you have to prove it. So again, guessing if this sort of start can continue, it's silly because now, they're not dog days of summer, but, of winter and the festive season and some key injuries, not that I wish them on Aston Villa, are going to come. No, they're not ready. The pressure's going to come, and that's going to be the key. They've never been in that situation. They're great at home, but as we've seen, even in that last game, they came back, but away, they're not the same team. And I think this is going to pile onto them a little bit. So we've seen that from Newcastle last year. I mean, they obviously had to go at it, made it to top four, but paying the price right now for whatever reason. I just think when it's all said and done, as I've said, teams that are deep in quality in their squad. You look at right now, Arsenal, you look at Manchester City, there is zero reason to logically think that Villa can match those two teams alone. I'm not even sure they can match Liverpool in that as well. So absolutely not. I mean, look, I know there's been a Leicester City once, but this is not going to happen. And it shouldn't happen. It's too early, and I'm sure Unai Emery will be the first one. They're going to have a difficult time fighting for top four. Never mind Premier League title.
But props to them, obviously, from what we've seen so far. So you just mentioned Man City. We've been talking about them. Just mentioned Arsenal, and you said maybe a Liverpool there. So we're going to get to the Gunners' hopes. But before we went on today, you said that you have a clear favourite in the title race of the Premier League. You didn't say clear, right?
Well, I did say clear, but I mean, I want to give Manchester City.
Now you're retracting it.
No. I'm because I'm not retracting it, because you know it, and all the viewers that have been with us for now 2 or 3 years know that last season I would never.
Last season you would not shift every single week. I asked
Never.
If you had any issues. Even when Arsenal were top of the league, you kept saying, no, City are going to do it, City are going to do it, City are going to do it. And you wouldn't waver. So when you said this before today's show, I thought the way he said that, it suggests that something different is going to come out of his mouth.
Yeah, because Arsenal are definite contenders for the title.
They're your favourite.
Definite contenders. They are favorites. I'm not afraid to say it.
I got a favourite.
Look, all the ingredients are in. I don't know. I mean, if not now, when? Forget the City, because that was the same situation last year, that they weren't at their best and they eventually found their way. And of course, Manchester City can do that again. But last year, I didn't think Arsenal were ready to do that, right? Over the course of the whole season. This year, if I look at the facts, everything is in. I mean, this is a team that's one of the best in terms of attack, the best defense, in terms of character and spine. Everything's there, right? Saliba, arguably for me, the best central defender in the league. He was even that last year. We're just probably afraid to say it, but he certainly is. Declan Rice, I mean, I haven't heard Patrick Vieira mentioned once this season. And last year and the year before, that's all we talked about, right? That they don't have a leader. They don't have a character in the center of the pitch that can do that. He certainly, now that he's finally moved centrally and not on the left side of that midfield, is there. We have a team that doesn't panic, can win home or away, a team that has proven that can win games very, very late. A team that goes to places that normally we thought they would fold, the difficult ones at this part of the season, maybe January, we'll have to wait and see. But, the Burnleys, the tough grounds when it gets physical, that's no longer an issue. They have a brilliant manager that's proven that he's brilliant in Mikel Arteta. We have a team that's extremely good on set pieces. I think they may lead the league, at least in corners, most goals scored from corners. I mean, tell me one category that would make me not say that they're definitely contenders. This season, they can fight Manchester City.
Oh, last year, you kept using the word contenders. You said before the show you have a clear favorite. They're
one of the favorite. They're one of the favorites to win the league. Yes, I mean, if Arsenal, let me put it this way: Arsenal are ready to win the Premier League this year. Okay. I have no doubts. Look, another fact that
on it now, who would you go for, Arsenal or City?
At this moment, it's Arsenal. It's absolutely Arsenal, because of everything that I've mentioned. And the fact that they're scoring by committee, which I, by the way, love, because one of the things they'll say, well, that number 9. But look, everybody, defenders, midfielders, strikers are scoring. Edin Nketiah comes off the bench and scores, right? He's got 5 goals. I don't know, probably close to top goal scorer there as well. So although, yes, they could probably, just like any team, use maybe a little bit more depth, another player or two, which, by the way, they may or may not, I don't know, they may address in January as well. But at this stage, because this is different Manchester City that we saw last year, right? Remember last year, you kept on asking me about Erling Haaland. He had 1 million goals by now. Not there, for sure. The team defensively is not the same Manchester City. And I look at Arsenal, who are perfectly balanced as we speak right now. So they have to be the favorites to win the league right now at this moment. And they have all the ingredients that take to win that title.
December 19th, 2023, Janusz has Arsenal winning the title. And last year, it took me, honestly, the whole of the season, and I still couldn't get him to say that. So you've heard it here first. We'll be back next week, or maybe the week after that.
It's funny that you say that, because, I was thinking, maybe I should be more sensible and not go. But, it's a big game.
Janusz.
You know what? No. You know why? Because there's a massive test against Liverpool, and that's the result's not necessarily going to change. It's not going to change the way I think of Arsenal, because you're going to lose games, and especially as I've mentioned, I mean, Liverpool obviously understand how big that game is after the draw against Manchester United to keep up with everybody. So it's going to be a massive test. But imagine if Arsenal, I mean, even if they draw, that's fine. What if they win? Ooh.
Sounds to me like Arsenal are Janusz's clear favourites to win the Premier League title this season, just as he said to all of us we saw before the show. See you later, before he can say anything else.